It's been a minute since I last talked about the Anbernic RG556. It is one of my most divisive reviews, I would say. It's not necessarily because of my dislike for it. In fact, it's a great device. It's that the conclusion that I ultimately came to was that while the device in of itself is amazing, it lacked direction. And I felt like anybody who purchased this device would end up wanting more from it, or realizing that they didn't need all it could offer and felt would be better served by maybe something cheaper or something simpler that they don't necessarily need to spend as much money on. Though now more time has passed, I have gained a deeper insight on my feelings on this device. And I have to say, I am still thoroughly impressed by this device. And it's not one of my top 10 favorite handhelds of all time I've ever used or anything like that, but I still think it's a damn good value and probably something that I will recommend more often than I initially have. It is probably a very interesting device, and some things about it that I do genuinely really like. And it fits a certain price point that we don't see a whole lot of competition in, and I hope we do see some more in the future. What I would have liked to see is this device get a little bit cheaper over time, but it really hasn't. The price on this 556 hasn't really changed all that much, and it's not a big deal, but I would like to see this more around like 150. And I have before on some sales, but like broadly speaking, it tends to stick around its $186 price point. It can go up to like $200 depending on the model you pick, but I always end up picking the cheapest base model version because it just makes the most sense, because that's the one probably most people are going to buy anyways. The Anbernic 556 uses the Unisoc T820 chipset, which is a particularly powerful chipset. It sits in between the Rotary Pocket 4 and 4 Pro in terms of performance, and it does the same thing with its price. It has 8GB of RAM, which is really nice to see at this price point. On top of that, it has probably one of the best displays on a retro handheld. It has an AMOLED display. It's truly phenomenal. The deep, rich colors, the inky blacks are just phenomenal. The OLED display is also 1080p, which is also a resolution you don't tend to see often on these displays, especially given the size of the device. At 5.5 inches, it is a fairly decently sized device while maintaining some semblance of pocketability. It is a rather large device for that, especially given the big meaty paddles on the side for better ergonomics, makes it a little awkward to put it in your pocket. It's not exactly pocket friendly, and I just would, refrain from doing that personally, just because I don't like putting that much pressure on the analog sticks. These aren't the best analog sticks I've ever used, and with time, yeah, that still stands. They're not particularly great. I like the face buttons though, and the D-pad's alright, but for this device, I play mostly 3D titles from like N64, PS1, even PS2 games. It is quite enjoyable on this device, but the analog sticks aren't particularly great for that, and it kind of makes the device a little bit, sour feeling, It just because the analog sticks don't feel great though, doesn't mean it's not a good overall experience. I would definitely give the analog sticks a solid 75% if I had to give it a grade. Emulation performance though is pretty solid, capable of going all the way up to light Nintendo Switch emulation and being able to play most of the GameCube and PS2 libraries. It is capable of doing Wii emulation, just not as much as you might have hoped. I definitely would like to be able to play New Super Mario Bros. On this device, but it just feels weird. It could be I have a bad setting or I'm using the wrong emulator, but overall, I would say it's good at it, but don't buy this device for Wii emulation. Though PS2 and GameCube emulation did run fairly decently, I wouldn't say it covers 100% of both of their libraries, because I can't test all those games, but in the games I tested, it ran pretty decently. In these 6 months, I haven't really seen very much competition come out for this device. Like, you would have expected another Anbernic device or something from Retroid, literally anything from any of the other competitors out there, Miu potentially, but not really. The $200-ish price point has been rather neglected by the vast majority of other companies. Even Powkitty, to my knowledge, doesn't have anything quite this potent at this particular price point. I do feel like this segment is quite a bit undervalued and could be, potentially a very popular segment if they decided to move down some of those more premium chips. Like, wouldn't it be really interesting to see one of these devices come out with an older Snapdragon chip, like the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 or something like that? Because we never really saw a device with that chip come out, and we have the Odin 2 with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 2, and the stupid one from Ioneo, I think, called the Ioneo Pocket S with the Snapdragon G3X2, which is good, but a little wonky. Tangent aside, I do really hope we see some more competition around this price point. In these last 6 months, I have gone from kind of disappointed with this device to overall thoroughly impressed. I can now definitely see why some people pick this device to be their one and only. And I'm beginning to recommend it for that reason. The display is probably hands down one of the best displays on one of these handhelds. And I would say the performance is just a little shy from being the perfect device. That's my one critique. If it had something like an older Snapdragon or the same SoC out of the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, it would be pretty much a solid purchase. It would be pretty hard to hate this device, even with some of its faults. Having that little bit extra performance would go a long way for me to improve my image on this device. Like, overall, the device is phenomenal, but because of that lack of that little bit of extra performance, it does leave a little bit of a sour taste behind. But I do get it. The T20 chipset is probably one of the few chipsets that they could have gotten to get this device around the $200 price point. And hopefully in the future they might release a 5562 or something like that, where they can reprise this device, because in all intents and purposes, it's nearly perfect. And I would definitely recommend this device to people who want something very ergonomic with a beautiful display, but they're okay sacrificing a little performance to do that. I do recommend this device over the Retroid Pocket 4 and 4 Pro because that device is just not very ergonomic. The 4 Pro is a little expensive for what you're really getting, and the Retroid Pocket non-Pro is also just a little too weak for me to properly recommend for people who want to do some serious emulation, and that just leaves the 556, the one in the middle, to be pretty much the perfect answer. It offers enough performance for you to, really enjoy your time with the device, and overall is way more comfortable in a way better visual experience thanks to having that beautiful OLED display. So that's the video. The 556 continues to be a device that I go back to and always have to really think about my feelings on this device. And I would love to hear what you guys think about this device. Are you as conflicted as I am, or are you seriously considering this device for your next handheld? Did this video help you in any way? I would love to hear what you guys think about this down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.